Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I am back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves two awesome bots here, and one that I feel I have not cast enough for how good it is. In the top left, it is the second highest ranked bot on the bot ladder. It is Xena. I hope I'm going with Xena. I hope I'm saying that right. And take it on, Xena. It's going to be a bot I've definitely cast a few times. It is ANIBot. So, a good old TVZ between these two. We have got ANIBot moving out with a very early SCV scout. Xenabot going for a fast spawning pool. It says build roach rush. I guess that's just the statistics, not necessarily what build it has picked. Anyway, ANIBot's going for Marauders. It says confidence 5%, which isn't great, I'll say, but I'm pulling for ANIBot here, as it's already moving out, going for a proxy. Rax, I believe, did it try and proxy in another game of it that I cast? I think it might have. Anyway, we've got a roach build going up against proxy marauders, so this will be an interesting one depending on the timing on how this works out. I have no idea, to be honest. In theory, you think this is good for the Zerg bot, as of course the Zerg bot is the one that usually wants to get out roaches or lots of units early on to counter the marauder rush, so Xena I think is on the right path. But regardless, ladies and gentlemen, before we get too far into this game, as it's going to be heating up real soon, go ahead and hit that like button. Let's go for 2 likes on this video for 2 overlords. Leave a comment down below that says BattleBots, and then subscribe if you're not. Consider becoming a YouTube member if you do want to support this niche YouTube content. And then, yeah, let's see, as this is gonna get spicy pretty soon. Turns out the roaches finish up a lot faster than the marauders, with the fact that their whole Rax has got to build, the tech lab's got to get up. One marauder is about to pop out though. The marauders alone might not be too good, seeing as how there is going to be Burrow on the way. Like before Burrow, they might do all right. After Burrow, not so good, I think. So I'm a little bit concerned about that for ANIBot. It does have marauders building on both sides of the map as well, so this is going to get messy real quick. Now, roaches are engaging this one marauder. Unfortunately, he is alone. A friend just popped out to join him, though, so one roach goes down. Burrow is about 10-15 seconds away from completing, so these marauders can actually kill off these roaches before this becomes too troublesome for them, and they do deal with those 3 roaches, so well done for the marauders. But if this really is going to change up when we see these roaches have Burrow, and there we go, they have it now. So one of those roaches burrows, and all of a sudden these marauders are losing their efficiency. They do kind of body block that one roach, however, and actually prevent it burrowing, so that was darn cool. Actually, that was incredible, I'll say. Did ANIBot program this specifically to deal with burrowed roaches? That is phenomenal. Truly phenomenal from the bot author. I didn't even know that you could do that necessarily in StarCraft 2. Incredible use of the engine there. And it just goes to show that these bots can indeed teach us quite a bit as StarCraft 2 fans. Now we have that one barracks floating on home, so it's much slower marauder production than it could be. And with these roaches utilizing their burrow and not being blocked every time, they are gonna definitely come out on top here. So hard counter by Xena goes to show that marauder rushing against a Zerg burrowed build is not necessarily the best. However, this marauder can in theory kite these roaches forever, really slow their advance down, force them to burrow and hang out for a little bit. The marauder's still retreating, unfortunately taking shots from not being microed quite perfectly, it seems. I believe the marauders do outrange the roaches, and they definitely do outrange the roaches. So they can, in theory, if done perfectly, but I believe the targeting on the different roaches was meaning that they weren't necessarily targeting the one that was going to be closest towards them. So ANIBot definitely on the defensive now. It's still making marauders to defend, but it's a lot of roaches crossing the map here for Xena. There we go. 4 marauders are able to start popping off these roaches. They really have to stay on the retreat, though. One of them is about to perish, and that's really going to lower the DPS. A good scan goes down. for ANIBot, allowing these roaches to be killed by the Marauders, really showing how superior Marauders are to roaches in the low numbers. And so, great play by the ANIBot, great programming to be able to actually see that there was roaches, they're burrowing, scan away, but then also Xena, we saw once those roaches were scanned, they immediately unburrowed. So that is such high level back and forth between these two bot authors when it comes to this matchup. The fact that Xena's like, well, I don't want my roaches just to burrow and get killed. Let them do something. Another scan goes down for ANIBot, so its scanning isn't quite perfect. I wonder if that's just like a delayed scan or what. Or yeah, I really have no idea there. Anyway, the Marauder count has really, really grown, and if it's going up just against a roach trickle, this could be very problematic for those roaches. The scan does go down, force those roaches to unburrow. That's going to be a lot more dead roaches, just popping them off in low numbers. If these roaches consolidated, they're not actually terrible against Marauders. Like, Marauders with stim are good against roaches, but pound for pound in the early game, roaches, or cost for cost, aren't horrible. Just with the engagements, they definitely, the past engagement anyway, hasn't gone good for ANIBot. And I actually love how ANIBot is just making purely Marauders with concussive shells. Such a crazy build here. And like, we usually see such a ragtag amount of units for these StarCraft 2 bots, like, oh, one Cyclone, one Hellion, one Reaper, one Medivac or Viking, that kind of thing. No, ANIBot is saying it is Marauder time with 14 on the map, 15, and it's not just, yeah, it's not just like sacrificing its economy to go for a one base Marauder build. It's actually going up to a third command center, so its third is almost as quick as the Zergs. The thing that I'm wondering is if we're eventually going to see Medivac support for these, or Stim Pack. There's a siege tank on the way, so ANIBot is finally making something else. The Marauder count, though, is just simply ridiculous here. We see Xenobot scout all these Marauders, so it should definitely know that it's down on units. I'm curious to see if it's got that scouting behavior to say, hey, that is a lot of Marauders, I need to make just units at this point, or if it is going to make more drones. We shall see. A Lair's on the way. An Overlord is actually on the way as the bot got a little supply blocked here, but I'm curious to see. Yeah, it's making lots of roaches. It is still squeezing in the odd amount of drones here, so I do wonder what's going on behind the scenes. But ANIBot, it's not much of a guess here. It's saying just macro up and make all the Marauders possible. This has got to be the most Marauders I've seen in a StarCraft 2 game, if I'm being honest. Usually it's like, oh, I can't build that many because the Zerg will just make mutas, but turns out mass Marauders against these Zerg bots, which are so infamous for making roaches, might just be the trick here for ANIBot. I'm loving this. This is a breath of fresh air when it comes to ridiculous bot strategies. An eBay's on the way. Another command center's on the way for ANIBot. And then a Liberator on the way. So, I mean, it's looking mighty scary right now. Tanks as well. Liberator on the way. That one lane. I mean, it sees like an entire football team. That's what I think of when I see the Marauders. Now, let's take a look here. A decent amount of roaches. I was going to say a lot. Really, it's not. It's 10 roaches. Some lings on the way. So it really does go to show how Xena has been behind on the economy. ANIBot's macro has just been so strong this game with the constant Marauder production too. We have a Liberator moving on out. We have that Liberator sieging on up. Xena says run away, and rightfully so. A scan gets burned by ANIBot, interestingly enough. There's also 0 anti-air besides this painfully slow Liberator anti-air attack to deal with these Overlords in the sky. I do want to see ANIBot attack sooner rather than later because Hydras are much better than Roaches against Marauders. There's 1-1 on the way for Marauders. No stim, no medivacs to support them yet, however. Just the Liberators, tanks, and Marauders. An interesting diet for ANIBot, however. A very formidable one, it would seem. ANIBot is still on the defensive, however, as this game continues on. Attacking on out is always difficult against Zerg with such creep spread like Xena has. Xena's trying to find the best way to engage this. ANIBot is starting to inch forward, however. Creep Tumor's getting killed off by those scans. Lings are running all over the place for Xenobot. And Xenobot is spreading creep at a phenomenal rate. Reaching the 4th base of ANIBot is kind of problematic for the blue bot. 1-1 is on the way for ANIBot. It's about to finish up for Xena. Infestors are on the way, though, for Xena. And this is why I wanted to see ANIBot attack sooner rather than later. Big fungals could really be problematic here for the blue bot. It's also boosting its medivac, interestingly enough. The fact that it does have a medivac, I do love to see. If it builds more and more of those, that would be wonderful to heal up those Marauders. We've also got Stim on the way. I'm curious to see if ANIBot's going to stim its Marauders 11 times to kill them, or 12 times you can actually stim a Marauder. So we'll see how well it's going to do that. Out goes the blue bot, though, going for blood now. Liberators are sieged up. There's not too much anti-air. We see, nope, initiating tactical repositioning. You look busy, I'll come back later. Xena really needs to deal with these Liberators. It's having a tough time, though. The composition for ANIBot has really been working wonders this game. In come the Marauders now. Roaches, a couple of them are moving forward. Lings are running into the Marauders, but I feel like we need to see something more formidable for Xena to deal with this. A tank is on the front lines, does actually get picked off. Marauders are skirmishing down towards the bottom, however. There's the large force towards the top. Just one pops off that Roach. The Queen dies pretty quickly, too. A few drones are moving on out, actually getting pulled very, very early in the fight for Xena, but I think that it really needs everything, so that is correct. And Xena's army is kind of just melting here against this Marauder ball with the tank support. We see a scan, it's a little bit off. There's the stim pack for ANIBot. One stim goes down on those Marauders. It's one medivac to heal up this entire force, so that's a tall order. But we also see a couple Marauders pushing towards this hatchery here. And I think ANIBot has won with what is one of the greatest AI strategies I've ever seen. And you really got to give it to both these bot authors. The fact that there's so many layers to this, like, oh, the Marauders try and body block the Roach, but then the Roaches get scanned, so they all pop up because they know they don't want to sit there. Incredible, incredible programming, and it goes to show how advanced these bots are. I do believe ANIBot has won this one. Xena just wasn't quite able to pull it together, and the mass Marauders are evidently no joke. I would love to see ANIBot do this in another game. Scanning creep tumors, says ANIBot. Vikings in the sky as well, and yeah, it's 90 supply to 200. Cool to see a Terran bot in which the Terran bot didn't just sit back and turtle the entire game. That seems to be the case with a lot of them, that the Terran bots are more on the defensive, so I'm glad to see an aggressive one. Okay, yeah, I think that is going to be it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this one, hit that like button, leave a comment down below. We do see a fungal, but it's too little too late. Xena never really had the mass to deal with what is now 30 Marauders. If it only made a couple mutas, that's all I could say. That might be what Xena needed. Yeah, the Hydra's just having a hard time dealing with the Liberators too, afraid to engage in, but then also just sitting way too far into those circles. There's also advanced ballistics research because there was a fusion core built. And yeah, well done by ANIBot. Battle cruiser on the way as well, because of course it's a Terran bot. They pretty much all build BCs. Mass Marauders still doing well for themselves. Liberators sieging up all over the place, and that really is one of the hard points of being a bot, trying to know when to engage Liberators, or I imagine programming a bot. I don't think being a bot's very hard. It's rather straightforward. No, just trying to program your bot so it can deal with things like Liberators, with tanks. It's very difficult, no doubt. GG.